My name is Jay Barrick, and I am the current administrator for the Juvenile Dependency Mediation Program for the state of Nevada. Mediations in the dependency world for Nevada actually started in 2011 in the 2nd Judicial District, and it was very successful. And some of those who were involved in it saw that as a potential for the rest of the state. What we were looking for is to do something that would be consistent throughout the state, where mediators would always be available, regardless of whether it was a rural area or a Reno or Clark County case. And so we were trying to come up with the best idea of how we could do that. So JDMP was then officially launched in 2015. We have fully trained and qualified dependency mediators. They are trained specifically in the dependency law area and in how to handle these cases. Mediation is an alternative to the courtroom. So we allow a 3-hour session. Unlike a 15-minute or 20-minute hearing, we want to give you time to take a deep dive into whatever's going on, whatever the concerns are, whatever the issues are, and give you time to kind of work through that. And what we're trying to do is hopefully give children permanency faster. We're trying to resolve both the legal and sometimes the non-legal issues in the case. We want to improve outcomes for all of our families. And so by having a consistent program and trained mediators, what we're looking to do is to give you the opportunity to mediate cases that need to have a conversation among the parties. We can handle a case anywhere in its process, whether that's a petition, and we're talking about the language of a petition, placement, who's going to have this child or these children, case plans, whatever the communications are between the department and the parents, we can talk about those. We can talk about what this family really needs. And we can do TPR cases, which we do quite a few of those. Any place where the case is stuck, we would encourage mediation. And we think that it's a better process than the court process. We hope you'll find so too.
One of the great things about the mediation process is that it's non-adversarial in nature. And so when you have a collaborative focus where everybody's working together as a team, it can really change the tone of the case at an early stage. It creates an environment where people can start to think outside the box and share perspectives in a much more relaxed way than they would if they were in the litigation process. In the collaborative, non-adversarial nature of mediation, you get this together as a team versus this fight, and that can help a family move forward.
One of the hallmarks of a successful mediation is for the mediator to create an environment where the participants feel comfortable with sharing some very personal thoughts, feelings, and ideas about a situation that's very personal to them. Confidentiality helps to create that environment where the parties are aware that they're not going to have things that are said during the mediation shared outside of the mediation. And it really fosters that ability for them to share information.
I think one of the more critical elements of the actual mediation process is all of the preparation that is involved. A lot of times as mediators, we're relying on stakeholders to provide us with information that falls outside of the documents that were provided by the court. So being able to have those conversations is such a critical part of our process. And we recognize that everybody's time is valuable, but a lot of times these preparation points in our mediation really help aid our process in getting to know all the players involved and what each party is individually looking for.
Standard practice of mediation involves allowing all parties to come together collectively and sit down and engage in conversations regarding the matter at hand. It allows individuals to openly have conversations outside of a courtroom setting. It allows for conversations to be had that ordinarily may not be able to be had because the group has collectively come together. And it just really allows for individuals to openly discuss anything that they feel that's appropriate in terms of ensuring that the best interest of this child is taken into consideration. There are instances where we are unable to come together collectively in a mediation setting. And some of those things would consist of if there is domestic violence, if there are foster parents that are concerned about their safety and well-being. And in these instances, we would actually hold mediation separately to allow for the same outcomes for parties to talk openly and candidly about the best interests of the child.
JDMP is committed to program improvement. We consistently track outcomes and do annual evaluations. We identify trends and talk to outside stakeholders to make sure we're improving our practice and making sure everyone feels heard. We consider success any form of agreement that helps the case move forward and gives the opportunity for parents to feel heard. We ask all participants to complete an anonymous evaluation at the end of each mediation.
What I like about mediation as a social worker and supervisor is it gives us the opportunity to come to the table with all the parties, so attorneys, parents, mediators, to really discuss the issues and the needs in a calm and safe environment where everybody is able to talk freely. And I always feel heard. I feel that the parents feel heard. The mediators are great. They're knowledgeable, very knowledgeable in family law. And I really enjoy it. I always feel like we come out of there, even though we don't come up with a solution all the time. It always feels when you come out of there, it's a good feeling because it's a calm environment. It feels safe.
We use mediation sometimes in our initial abuse and neglect petitions, but mostly for our cases pending termination of parental rights trial. It is vital to have a neutral third party in control of the mediation. It saves time to have all the parties brought together in one place that is considered safe based on confidentiality. The mediators help to ensure that everyone is given the opportunity to be heard and keeps the participants on track so we can have a meaningful discussion. Mediations are extremely helpful because if an agreement is reached, it takes out the appeal time and the litigation time, therefore getting children to permanency faster, which is what everyone wants.
The thing that I think I really appreciated about the mediation program for my clients was the ability for them to really speak their minds freely. In court, because the docket was usually so packed, they didn't have time necessarily to be fully heard at initial hearings. And there's always a certain amount of risk with an attorney allowing their client to speak freely to a judge because mediation was and is a confidential process. My clients felt free to explain the circumstances in which they found themselves that led them to be in the dependency court. I think that for them, these are people who are often poor, don't have very high status in society. And so I think they were used to not being heard. And so the ability to speak their minds, be heard and acknowledged helped to give them buy-in on the whole process and therefore really work together, hopefully, with the DA, with the social workers, and with me to try to get their children back home ultimately.
Parties to a controversy tend to respect it more and to honor it more when they have a hand in the resolution of that dispute, compared with when we have a stranger, a judge just says, this is how it's going to be. Then you have pushback. And so I think that's one of the valuable components of this program is that it allows, even if they don't like the end result, they have more confidence in that because they were part of the process.
I am Judge Stephanie Charter. I serve as one of 6 dependency judges in the 8th Judicial District Court here in Clark County. We have found that mediation is a very valuable tool for the parents as well as for the potential adoptive families. We have seen many, many cases resolved through the mediation program, which takes away the need for a contested trial. We are all so appreciative that we have this resource available to us, and we thank all of you for being part of the Dependency Mediation Program.